Hi, it's me, Dora V here, and it's been 1 week since the final episode of the season, and I had to really take my time, because if I didn't, I think that I would have just wished death on pretty much everybody. Just burn them all, begin again, because goddamn it was garbage. I could think of maybe about 4 good things. One is, I actually liked when Daenerys was walking and the dragon was behind her. That looked pretty cool. Pretty good speech, too. It's just that I don't think there were any slaves in Westeros, unless you count serfs, but honestly, she should have just gone home. Just go ahead and admit that you're more of a conqueror. Say you just would not fit in Westeros, you have no place here, maybe realize that. Tell all the Dothraki and the Unsullied to just go home. Go home! That's what Grey Worm ended up doing. Go Grey Worm, you made it to the end, you get to go to Naath, and there are no butterflies in the show, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, she could have just taken all of them and just go home. What would anybody do? What are they gonna do? Follow you? Just go home, because what happened to Daenerys is bullshit. And then again, most of the characters are done pretty damn dirty. Like, it only got there because of contrivance. I can't stress that enough. And the thing is, like, the ending itself, I felt like it's the very thing that Martin would be against. Like, never mind democracy or not, whatever. But he's pretty much, I don't know if it was him or Robert Jordan, where when there were loose ends or things unresolved, there's certain things that are just unknown, he would say, well, that's the way life is, that it's not always neatly tied into a bow. So I don't think that he would have approved of everything being so neat and so clean. It's just way too easy. And yeah, tied neatly into a bow. That's how I see it. Let's see, the other good thing is, well, Jon is where he belongs. Like, north of the wall, Tormund was right, and he gave Ghost a huggy. That was a good thing. And yeah, he just got a pretty good ending, and just north of the wall. And I could see why Grey Worm is angry, because I don't think that's much of a punishment, I guess, but he's pretty much out of the picture, and I think it'll stay that way, like, forever. Let's see, what was the other good thing? Fuck, I can't even think of it now, but I know that the Daenerys dragon thing was pretty cool. Oh yeah, the third good thing is Drogon destroys the Iron Throne. I love that. I actually voted nobody wins the Iron Throne, so technically, the people who wanted that, they win. That's pretty cool. However, I don't see how the wheel has been broken at all. I don't really see how. I think, like, the Iron Throne was destroyed, but I don't really see much of a difference. And really, it's just more like, it's kind of akin to what the Anglo-Saxons did, that there was a Witten, and the full name was Witten Gaemot. See if I got that right. I think I did. And it was actually a precursor to a parliamentary republic. And that parliament actually was a bit of a check and balance. But the thing is, if only the lords and ladies are choosing, then I still can't really see much of a difference. Because even with the Witten, your pickings were kind of slim. Like, you can only choose from those with royal blood. So, yeah, they were kind of, you just didn't really have that much of a choice. And to the common people, I don't think it made much of a difference for them at all. Like, when people talk about, like, they don't care who is in charge as long as they have healthy, happy, stable lives and they're left in peace. Well, there are two problems with this. One is, all too many people do not have stable lives, and a lot of that does come from systemic and government policy. And then the other is that they never really are left in peace. That's one thing that Book Jorah got right, that they never are. So they kind of have to give a shit. So in the minds of people who are supporting Daenerys, there's just really not much of a difference. I guess it's a start. A democracy is a bit advanced, a bit like, what I mean by that is it's kind of ahead of its time, and that it only really works when you have a very well-informed populace, dedicated and diligent. And while Westeros probably had the dedication and diligence, they're not really that well informed. Like, many of the common people are still illiterate and they're uneducated. So, like, I mean, like, even now, like, critical thinking is a problem. So for the common people, it would be a bit more difficult. And then it's a logistics thing too. Information just was not as spread so easily. So really, like, I can see why, like, it wouldn't have worked too well, just the logistics. Good try, though, anyway, Sam. You rock. I'm glad you're still alive. Interesting how you became a maester, despite being married with a kid or two. But then again, you might not... it looks like he was a maester, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, good try though, just too bad it was kind of weak sauce, but I guess you kind of knew you were playing against a stacked deck anyway. As for Bran being picked as king, man, people were really mad at that, and I can see why they were, because he's not what Sansa thinks. Like, she thinks, oh, he's still a Stark, and she would still have influence, and she'll eventually learn the hard way that, no, he's not your brother anymore. He told Jaime as much, and you're gonna find out that he's not a Stark. He's basically the three-eyed raven, and he gives no fucks. And quite honestly, I don't think he would be that bad as a king, because he's completely unbiased, unfeeling, and if, say, the Iron Islands and Dorne choose independence, which I think they eventually will, then it's not gonna make a difference to him. And he'll know about it, I'm sure, but it won't make a difference. As for the North being independent, I know people were kind of mad at that, like, because she was the last vote, and she just declared independence right there, while Dorne and the Iron Islands end up saying aye. So then, like, the North gets independence, but not the Iron Islands and Dorne. Like, I'm not buying that. I said that whole thing had me singing red, and I love Arya, like I do, and I know that she wants to defend Jon, but I felt more for Yara. I think it should have been pointed out that Dany also made sacrifices. I mean, they call her a tyrant, but no, she fucking wasn't a tyrant. She took counsel, she took criticism. That is not a despot. Yeah, she's harsh, she's reckless, she's rash, but she wasn't a fucking tyrant, Sansa. You of all people should know better. If there's anybody who was a tyrant, it's Cersei. And that's what Yara got right. Like, she freed you guys from tyrants. She did. As for the shit about innocent people, like, that's contrived. That's why, like, I can dismiss it readily, because I know everything leading up to it was just one big, just contrivance and bullshit, and there's no way that Dany would ever do that. As for the Mad Queen thing, there were better ways to handle it. Like, one way is if she did go after strategic targets, and then it inadvertently set off the wildfire, but then she's blamed for it, and is just guilty for it, and then that could have built up to a possible Mad Queen that either she wants to die or does end up getting killed. That at least would have worked, but no, I guess they didn't have time for that, so they went with that shit. And honestly, it is a war, and unfortunately, innocents do die during war, but the shit about defending a tyrant, please, shut up, go away. Like, just go fuck yourself. That's complete bullshit. But again, I don't blame Arya for defending her brother. Like, I get that. I mean, Jon's the brother. But I can see Yara just really going for independence because, hey, if the North can have it, so can they. And Dany also made sacrifices. She's lost a lot defending the North and Winterfell. That should be acknowledged. And the fact that it wasn't just had me really furious. But Davos, though, he's the only one who did, so he gets credit for that. Good for you, Davos. I love you. You're amazing. Glad you survived. Glad Brienne survived. But unfortunately, I can see why Grey Worm would refuse that. Let's be real. Like, I don't think they do too well in Highgarden. But at any rate, yeah, I could see them going for independence. And honestly, I think that when the Iron Islands do, Dorne will just be Dorne. I don't think it was ever truly part of the Seven Kingdoms anyway. Just in name they were. So Dorne, to me, is kind of irrelevant. It's just there. The Iron Islands, here's what I predict. I think that, yeah, Bran will be fine with it, because he just doesn't give a shit. He pretty much knows everything anyway. And I do think that Arya's not going to care, because she's gone as well. Like, she's heading to the west, and she's going somewhere. I mean, you only really see her. You don't see any crew, but I guess she's off exploring. But I don't think she gives a shit either. She just wanted to protect Jon. And Sansa, on the other hand, I think what she could easily end up doing is being the first country to acknowledge the Iron Islands' independence, just like Morocco was the first country to acknowledge U.S. independence. And when they did that, they didn't have good intention. Their intention was to say, yes, you're independent, knowing full well that they won't get British protection. So what the Moroccans did in the Barbary Pirates is that they went after American ships and captured slaves. That was their actual intention. So I could see Sansa doing something similar. Not so much slavery, but to say, I acknowledge your and then she'll bide her time, wait for all the off. Because you see, Sansa, I think this is what makes her a better ruler than Dany. She bides her time, she's patient, she's more temperate, and she's maybe a little more careful. I mean, any risk she takes would be calculated. So she's way more calculated. So she's not going to go after the Iron Islands immediately, but I think she'd bide her time and then strike. Because the Iron Islands is independent, remember? Yeah. Oh, poor Yara. There's another one who got shafted. She was shafted, never really given much of a chance at all in season 8. She got fucked. Big time. You'd think that she'd be there for Winterfell, but why wasn't she? I mean, why didn't she kill Euron? That would have been way more fitting, but no, she got shafted, and poor Dorne is made irrelevant, so that's a bit unfortunate. Oh, let's see. There's this one theory where Drogon takes Dany to a side, and maybe she's resurrected, and maybe she'll be back with a giant Drogon to get some vengeance. Maybe, honestly, I'd read the shit out of that fic. And if that does happen, that would be interesting, but that's more of a sequel, and even if that happens, like, that'll be years from now. And I don't know what'll happen with the prequels. I have no idea. I don't know if, I mean, at least it's not going to be done by D&D, and if there is a sequel, I hope they don't go near it. When George Martin finishes his stuff, I have faith that it'll be a bit different, that things will be handled a lot better, and whether or not there'll be a remake, well, if there's gonna be, it'll be years from now. I mean, look at Full Metal Alchemist. It took something like a decade to get Brotherhood. So yeah, it'll be a while for sure. But honestly, the finale stank. No likey. You know, Tyrion butchered, made stupid. It's all just, it's like this smoldering ruin. I feel like that guy from The Naked Gun, 33 1/3. And over on Reddit, someone in the Free Folk, well, that will always be a meme area, a great meme area. He felt like Khal Drogo, just vegetative. That's exactly how I felt. I still feel that way. And I'm past all the irrational anger. I'm past that. Like, I'm fine with Northern independence. I'm fine with Sansa being Queen of the North. I think she'll do a great job. So, like, whatever. But she still pissed me off. They all did. All you Starks pissed me off, and I like the Starks. And goddamn, they were butchered. Even poor Jon. But Jon, like, he's not gonna be relevant anymore. So go live in the North, have fun. As for me, like, I don't think I'll rewatch anything of season 8. And God, like, poor episode 2, which was a really good episode. Damn, like, that's all made pretty much irrelevant for the most part. Ugh. Honestly, I think, like, in the case of Jaime, it would have made more sense if Brienne died. Oh, but poor Brienne, don't want you to die. No, she didn't either. Like, her and Podrick are King's Guard, and Podrick's become the Bran roller. Roller Bran, and so I guess whatever. That's pretty much how this whole thing ends, with a whatever. I had to put on blockers to avoid reading Tumblr and Reddit. I have like this cold turkey web blocker that's supposed to help with productivity. And yeah, sure, it works, only to a certain extent, because if you have tablets, well, you're still going to be reading Reddit. And Tumblr not so much, so I have to get caught up with Tumblr soon as the block runs out. Because I know that if I didn't do that, I will still be trolling Tumblr, constantly reading. Same with Reddit, because reading it on a tablet's different from desktop, so I just would have, I would still be a bit of an angry mess, so I think it's for the best. I still have YouTube, but whatever, that's for different things. So I guess that'll do. I think that's it. This is close to 20 minutes anyway. I've said everything I could possibly say. Beyond that, I could save it for Tumblr. Whatever. Bye-bye. As for any other shows, like, well, I've yet to actually see The Wire, and I've been told a lot that I should. There's Versailles, Berserk. Yeah, go back to watching anime. There's that. And beyond that, I just don't know. So, bye-bye.